Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Welcome to My Tent podcast. It is going to be a solo episode today of updates on my end and what I've been up to, as well as what's coming up for me, and then some general musings on my life as I've now fully transitioned to entrepreneurship and being my own boss, and what that's feeling like and what I'm experiencing. I have not been doing this for a long time, but I feel like I've learned a ton in this time frame. So it's going to be an updates kind of time that we can spend together today. I do have a couple notes because I feel like nothing stays in my brain anymore. Also, my microphone. I took it apart because I did some photos with the mic. I've posted a couple of them, but I did a photo shoot with Amanda, who is my photographer, and we went to the Botanic Garden. I always also struggle saying that word. And now I can't get my microphone to do what I want it to do, but that's not a you problem. That's a me problem. Anyway, enjoy this solo episode, friends. Thanks for listening. Hi, hello, hey, and welcome to my tent, a place to hear life experiences, different opinions, a range of journeys, and a viewpoint different than our own. A place to challenge our own thoughts, a space to learn a little bit, and I promise some fun along the way. I believe we're better when we let a range of people into our tents, so welcome to mine. Okay, hello everyone. Just took a sip of this Athletic Greens. No, this is not an advertisement. Yes, I do drink it. And no, I don't think it tastes good. I've said this before in my stories. I feel like so many people are like, this is the most delicious thing I've ever had in my life. And I don't think it tastes that good. I've had to kind of force myself to like it, but I like what's in it. So I drink it. That is besides the point. Hello. Solo episode today, friends. More of an update kind of vibe. That's what I'm thinking for some of these solo episodes now. I don't always have a set topic that I want to talk about. Sometimes I feel very passionately about certain things and I will dive into one topic in particular, but today is more so kind of life updates. I mean, I guess there is sort of a topic behind this because I've been working for myself for a couple of weeks now and have entered the era of entrepreneurship. So I haven't been doing this for a long time. I know that there are some veterans in the entrepreneurship game, but I have learned just a ton in the past couple weeks. And there's been some interesting things that have come up for me that, I don't know, I think it may be interesting for people to hear about if you're considering a move into entrepreneurship or you're just curious about what it looks like. I can give you those details. And then, just chatting through some other things that I'm up to these days. Mainly, this has always been a thing, but I will say right now, the internet's like a particularly alarming place to be in. I don't think a lot of people understand or know the absolute insanity that can go on behind the scenes of Instagram or TikTok. I will say, I think TikTok has people that are just way more unwell than Instagram does. I don't know why, but maybe it's the virality. Is that the right word? The ability to go viral. That's what I'm attempting to say here. On there is a little bit easier. So maybe that's just the case and there's more eyeballs. But right now, I feel like there's just a lot going on, and I do want to preface this, and I'm not going to go super deeply into it. I have shared some of my thoughts on Instagram, but the conflict right now in the Middle East is definitely causing a lot of feelings. Just go on to any video that has a lot of eyeballs, and you will see some of the craziest shit on those posts, like publicly out there. And I have shared that I don't believe in murdering any innocent person, and that's drug up some people in my own DMs. I've been called a racist. I've been called a MAGA, whatever, idiot. I've been called a dumb bitch. A lot of different things. And it is interesting to be on the receiving end of a lot of this anger. I do understand that people feel a lot more comfortable behind a keyboard than they would probably saying this to someone's face, but it is just kind of wild to see. And I don't think a lot of people know that. And I feel like I do have a great community between Instagram and TikTok, but I have a smaller community in comparison to some other people. And if I get it to the extent that I feel like I get it, I don't even want to know what the DMs of people with large accounts look like, because it probably is terrifying. I mean, this is a silly one, but I had a TikTok video kind of go viral. It is the dumbest video. It is a video of me hanging a dish rag in my dishwasher after it runs to help pull out some of the moisture, and people went nuts on me. Like the craziest comments I've ever seen in my life. This one guy in particular, just comment after comment, calling me stupid, calling me a simpleton, telling me I have to go back to college. Just really, really, really wild. And so right now, if you're feeling that on the internet, you're not wrong. It tends to come out in droves sometimes, but this really does happen. And sometimes my DMs are an interesting place to live, and sometimes I just don't look at them. So there's that. What else have I been doing? So I've also said this, and I know that it's a petty problem in comparison to things, but I am so tired. I keep waking up between 3:30 and 4:30 a.m. no matter what I do. And it has been happening now for a couple weeks. And I was talking to my sister-in-law this morning, who has given me some good tips. I basically am now in a period where I need to retrain, because a lot of times my insomnia will be a couple days and then I'll kick myself out of it. But this has been, I don't know, like 3 weeks. And it's starting to catch up to me because I keep doing this. So, pardon. I need to kind of figure out my next steps. And I know that a lot of it has to do with screen time and has to do with my caffeine consumption. So I'm going to have to really work on that, because waking up at 4 a.m. is, for when I don't have to, is not fun. And I don't want to keep being this tired. I feel like my brain is just not firing on all these different areas. I also have been eating a lot of carbs. If you've been following along on that journey, I have started baking sourdough bread, and it has been really fun because I've had the time now to do a lot of things that I didn't necessarily have the time for when I was working corporate and running this page and doing this podcast and doing a million different things. So I've been working on making sourdough bread, and I finally feel like I've perfected the recipe, and a lot of it is trial and error. And that has actually been a really good teaching moment for me, because I am someone that really likes to follow direction, or like I like steps. I like when someone's like, hey, these are the 6 things that you do and you'll get this outcome. But when it's something like bread, what I've learned is that there's a lot of different things that go into it. What kind of water you're using, or flour, or the starter, or the temperature, or the area that you live in. And so it's been interesting for me to kind of say like, okay, here are the general steps, but I need to kind of take some creative liberties, and it's okay if it doesn't go well, has been good for me. Plus, we've just gotten so much bread out of it. And I made bagels, and I've made sourdough pancakes, and I've made loaves for other people. And it's been kind of something that's been bringing me some joy recently. On the updates front, I think I only have one more thing. Yes, we are coming into some really fun weeks ahead with some of my family traveling in. We are a family that kind of doesn't really care if we do a holiday on the holiday itself. There's a lot of us, and there's a lot of siblings, and each of us has our own families and our own things going on. So we're doing early-ish kind of family get-together, Thanksgiving vibes situation in the next few weeks, which will be really fun. And one of my brothers is going to stay with us, and then we're all going to do fun little like staycation at a hotel, which will be awesome. And it is always just so nice to get everyone together. I feel like as we get older and everyone starts to have families of their own, it just becomes so increasingly difficult to get everyone in one place at the same time. And with 4 siblings on this side, I do have another side. My family is kooky. I can talk about that in a second because I get a lot of questions. But for this side that's getting together, there's 4 kids. 3 of us have kids. You get the picture. But yes, this is the side of my family. All right, I'll just go backwards and I'll tell this from the get-go because it confuses a lot of people. So my mom and my dad met in college and they got married and they had my brother and they were kind of in the midst of having me. Whatever, background story is not really important there. They got divorced when I was super young, and my mom ended up meeting my stepdad, Pop, who I've spoken about at great length here, and married him when I was 1.5, and he had had 2 children from a previous marriage. So that's my 2 stepbrothers, my brother, and then me, and we all made one household. And that happened from a super early age for me. And then my dad got remarried and had my younger siblings. So there's 2 more younger siblings, my sister and my brother. And then he is actually now married to someone that my mom and my dad actually both went to college with, and they live in Portland, Maine. So I grew up in this kind of crazy situation where I had 2 sets of families. I had a lot of different involved parents. I had a stepdad and a dad who both were very actively involved in my life, as well as my like step parents and my siblings, and everyone's in different like groupings, but we were all still very close, if that makes sense. And I don't ever call anyone my half or step or full because it's just never been that way for me. So I do confuse a lot of people, especially when I reference that I spoke to my dad, because I also call Pop a dad. And so people are like, I thought your dad was dead. And I'm like, one of them is. And then they're like, oh, you have 2 dads. I'm like, yes, but like they're married to different people. It's a whole shebang. Anyway, that was a big side tangent in relation to the fact that my family is trying to get together. But yes, there is that. I think that's it on the updates front. And we can kind of start to talk about what it's looked like for me to be running my own business and my own situation and some of the stuff that I've learned from that, because it's been really interesting to make that move over, even though I have built this community and built my offerings over the past 4 years. It has always been a side passion project of mine. It's never been full time. My corporate career has been what has paid the bills and is something that I'm now realizing I used as such a sense of security. And in a way, I'm glad that I did it this way because I do feel confident in what I have built because I've had the luxury to slow burn it. I haven't had to do such a drastic thing. And I feel like in a lot of ways, I've been doing what I've been doing now full time on the side for so long that I do feel really comfortable with it. It's just a very different ballgame when you are relying on yourself and only yourself to get paid. And a lot of the connections to money have been really interesting for me to work through. And fine, maybe it's taboo to talk about money, but I was in sales and I was making a very good living doing that. And it's really interesting that I never really realized how secure that was as I was doing my corporate job in the past and sending emails and doing absolutely anything related to that job. I always knew that the same paycheck was going to be coming every 2 weeks. It's almost like everything that I did, I was paid for. And I don't think I really ever fully understood that until I quit, because now I have to do things and work on things without the knowing that that same consistent paycheck's going to come every 2 weeks. I kind of have to really take the bet and the gamble on, okay, I'm basically doing this for no money right now. And I am hoping, obviously, and feeling confident that this will yield future bounty. But it's not like I know that that's coming. And I never really realized how much that security, once it's not there, can be hard and almost in a way kind of paralyzing, because sometimes I'm feeling like I don't even know where to start because I don't exactly know what's going to succeed. And so a lot of it's just blind faith. And I'm working on being more confident in myself and reworking some of these thoughts that I have around compensation of it. But it's definitely really hard and a little scary. And I do know that I have some stuff already lined up, and there are some ways that you can get more consistent streams of income, but it's not going to look the same every month. And I'm someone that loves uniformity. So in a lot of ways, it's been really good for me to get out of my comfort zone. But there's a lot of interesting shit that comes up with money when you're relying on yourself rather than the consistency that you know that you're going to get paid. I've also found that my identity has kind of had, not a crisis. I haven't had like a huge identity crisis, but I feel like this has really helped me embrace that I am more than just a job, because what I'm doing is also so heavily tied to things that bring me joy and things that I love doing. And even just the silly, maybe some find this a silly connection, like the act of me baking bread is now part of my job in a way, because I am learning new things and trying new things and pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And so much of what I do with clients is working on finding things that fulfill you in all aspects of life. And so my identity used to be so tied to a precise role, and now it is encompassing so much else, which is really actually refreshing. And I've really enjoyed allowing myself to not be so defined by one thing. And not only that, this has afforded me the opportunity to lean into other things that really matter to me, like being a mother. If there's a day I want to go pick up Ronan at 2:30, I can go get him, and I can lean into my mom side of things, because it also does tie back, because so much of what I talk about now as my job of what I do and my transparency is like both highs and lows of motherhood. And so it's now sort of seeping into everything. So I do have to make a conscious effort to set boundaries with myself, because when corporately, yes, like the work from home thing can pose a challenge, but when I close my computer and I would shut that part of my brain off and then go and be with my son, I wasn't really thinking about, identity backed data. I was thinking about my son. And so it's been this weird thing where I sort of feel like I'm not working, because everything that I'm doing now is just who I am, which in a way is like fantastic, because I feel like it's in such alignment. But I'm also ever working on the boundaries piece of like, okay, now this is so intertwined. I have to really make sure that I'm not letting myself essentially be on for work 24/7. So the identity piece has also been something interesting. Let's see. Number 3. Oh, I'm looking at my notes, my chicken scratch. Oh, this is also what's kind of fun and alarming, is the only person that I have to answer to is myself. And if you know me in real life, or you've gotten to know me, I will say my personality does bode well to being my own boss. I am someone that can structure my day, that I do tend to have high levels of organization, and I do have a lot of drive and passion, and I can get shit done when I need to get shit done. But when I am the one answering to myself, the only thing holding me back from that is also me. So really finding a way of making sure I'm keeping on track. And in so many ways, it's empowering because I am in control of my day and my destiny and my job. But I also then have to answer to myself if I do slack off and things go by the wayside, because that's on me and I'm the one that dictated that. So it's an empowering and scary thing at the same time. It does afford me a lot of flexibility to move things around as I see fit. And there aren't necessarily deadlines every day. I do have deadlines a lot of times when I work with brands and I'm creating content or posting content, but everything else kind of is up to me to structure. Like, for example, like I know I have to record a solo episode. I should need about an hour to do that. I can fit that in, and I'm not being requested by someone else to have that deadline in place, but it does mean that I have to be on and responsible. And if something does go wrong, it's also on me. So it's awesome and terrifying at the same time. I'm a one-woman show as well, like still in a lot of different ways. I know I've mentioned, especially for the podcast, I've enlisted the help of some other people to do editing and audio, which is amazing. And I'm really excited that I'm working with them. But for 95% of everything, I am it. I still am not in a profitable enough place where I can hire out for everything else that I'm not necessarily strong at. And so, for example, this week or last week, actually, part of my website would not work. And I am not a coder. I don't really know WordPress that well. I am just like your average millennial girl who kind of knows how to use a computer. And I had to spend like 4 or 5 hours trying to figure out what was going on with this website. And I will say that Google and YouTube are actually pretty good teachers. And I've had to do a lot of digging and figuring out these things myself, where it took me that long to figure it out because I am not an expert, where I'm sure someone that is very well versed in this stuff could have probably figured it out in 5 minutes. But that's what happens when you are now the one to be handling everything. Like if this happened in my corporate side of things, there was a slew of different teams that I could reach out to. I'm sure a lot of you recall, if you follow me on Instagram, every 15 minutes I would have some tech issue and the tech team would be on, and I'd be calling the tech team, and they were the ones to help me through that. And now it is just on me. So I'm learning a ton, which is great. And I do think that it is nothing but beneficial, a bit frustrating when it's happening and you can't figure it out, but it's been a really good learning experience, and something that when I do eventually have the means to be hiring out, I will remember and know and value what those people bring, because I currently am doing this all by myself, which is, it's just wild. It's just wild. A big thing that I've also realized is this concept of being on autopilot, and I don't think I even realized how drained I really was until I removed myself from that environment. And in a lot of ways, I kind of kick myself for it, because I am like, I should have known that this was happening. But I also understand, as things are moving so fast and I'm managing myself and the house and Ronan, and there's just so much to get done and so much to do. It is so easy to just go on autopilot and just zone out and do it. But I don't really think I understood just how checked out I was and what that was doing to my mental health. I was definitely surviving, not thriving. And what's been really cool to see is the joy that I have picked back up from giving myself the space to do so. That sometimes paying yourself less in monetary salary brings you a lot more in soul salary. And I'm seeing that come to life where it was almost immediate when I had the space to do so. I started picking things back up into my life that I know that bring me joy that I just didn't have the energy for, like cooking. And that's a big one for me. I was cooking dinner one night and realized, oh my God, I don't think I've actually cooked dinner like this in probably 6 months. And yes, I understand that I'm busy and it's a lot, whatever, but I was sometimes surviving off buttered noodles and Parmesan and shoving that down my throat at 8 p.m. and then going to bed and immediately passing out because that's exactly how drained I was. And it's not to say that sometimes that's just the call that you have to make, but I wasn't taking care of myself in the sense of food. And to me, I love trying new recipes and I love cooking different types of things and trying different cuisines. And I didn't touch a pot or a pan for so long. And it just became second nature to me to not do that. And when I was cooking again, and I've been getting back into that side of things, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot how much this actually fills me up. And to me, I don't know why it was this pivotal moment. It was this like aha moment that one night recently I was cooking dinner, realizing, oh my God, I was just that checked out. And I was that depleted that I couldn't even bring myself to do things that I know I love because I simply was a zombie. And that is actually kind of sad to me. And I know that I'm out of the situation now and I'm happy. And in the moment when all that stuff was going down, it was really challenging, but I'm ultimately glad it happened because I'm able to step away and realize, like, girlfriend, you were at 0%. You were not able to show up. I was barely functioning as a person and I was getting it done, but not getting it done well. So that has been a very nice change of pace where I've actually drastically reduced how much money I'm making, but drastically increased how much joy I have in my life. And it goes back to the money conversation that happiness has a price. You could be the wealthiest person in the world, but if you are not happy with yourself or your situation or your relationships or your activities, does that money really matter? Of course, we have to like pay our bills and live, but it is really true. Like money can't buy happiness. It can buy things, and sometimes things can make us happy, I guess, but yes, I've drastically cut my salary and drastically increased my energy and my joy and my happiness. So all of the good things, The last piece I will say is there has been extra emphasis on separating myself from what people think of me. And I was able to kind of hide behind this, oh, everything I do here is a side passion, coaching is a side passion, but really I work full-time in corporate. It felt so much safer because I didn't have my feet fully in this and I didn't have to own it as much as I own it now. And there's always going to be people that have something to say. And in a way, it's good because I've sort of teetered both worlds for a little bit and gotten myself comfortable with some of the commentary, and I've lost people along the way. And I mean, we talked about it in this episode already, the crazy people that come at you. But now that I've really taken ownership of this and what I'm doing, I have to separate myself from that. And something that I always say to people who may be struggling with this is, if you like you, that matters more. If you are proud of who you are showing up as and yourself, and you feel confident in that, why does it really matter if someone says, I think you're annoying and I hate you? All right, fine. You can do that. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. It's taken me a really long time to get here, but I'm glad I have. But I'm trying to put extra emphasis on showing up in a way that feels authentic to me, asking myself the question on, am I proud of the work and the content and the messaging that I am putting out into this world? And if the answer to that is yes, I'm good. I'm happy. I am in alignment to who I am. And if that means that some people are not going to like me, or they're going to call me a simpleton on TikTok, like, fine. I'm cool with that. It's just a question I have to ask myself a lot more now that this is what I do for a living. Whereas I could, say, oh, well, that's not really what I do full time. This is what I do full time. It's now all one thing. So the boundary thing comes back in to play here. It's been a lot of boundary setting, deep work, self-exploration, boundary setting with myself mostly, all day long. So again, I have not been doing this for a long time, and there's people that have been their own bosses and creating their own businesses for many, many, many years. And I'm sure that they have their own journeys and their own learnings from it. And I will only continue to learn more as I go. But overall, things have been really good. And I am endlessly grateful for the people that have shown up for me and are excited for me and are taking the time to just chat with me and be there as I navigate all of this. So those are the updates, friends. That was kind of all I wanted to talk about today. If you stuck around until the end of the episode, thank you. You are the best. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, week, month, whatever time frame you're listening to this to. Okay. Bye. Love you. Thank you for tuning in to the Welcome to My 10 podcast. I hope you had as much fun listening as I do recording. I am so happy to have you here, and see you next episode.